Morning children, hope everything is well and so do I. Bhavna Desai, your science teacher, is with you and we will go further with our lesson. Last session we saw the different way of separation. In that we saw hand picking, threshing and winnowing. Now we will move on to sieving. Sometimes we may wish to prepare a dish with flour. We need to remove impurities and bran that may be present in it. What do? We use sieve and pour the flour into it. It is a very common thing when you want to prepare something from wheat flour. What you are doing, or your mama, you have seen in your house that before preparing chapati, mama is using sieve. And what is the use of sieve? The sieve removes impurities and bran from the wheat, from the flour of wheat. So that's why we use sieve. Sieving allows the fine flour particles to pass through the holes of the sieve while the bigger impurities remain on the sieve. In a flour mill, impurities like husk and stones are removed from wheat before grinding it. Usually a bagful of wheat is poured in a slanting sieve. The sieve removes pieces of stones, stalk and husk that may still remain with wheat after threshing and winnowing. In the flour mill, they are using this method because after finishing threshing and winnowing, maybe you will find some pieces of stone, stalk and husk in the wheat. So before preparing flour of wheat in the flour mill, they are using sieving method. You may have also noticed similar sieves being used on construction sites to separate pebbles and stones from sand. On the construction side also, they are using this method. Bring a sieve and a small quantity of flour from home to the class. Sieve the flour to separate any impurities in it. Now make a fine powder of chalk pieces and mix it with the flour. Can we separate the flour and the powdered chalk by sieving? Sieving is used when components of a mixture have different size. It is very common. If in the wheat flour, if we'll mix powdered chalk and if we'll sieve, it is not possible to separate these two components because sieving method is used to differentiate two components which have different sizes. Sedimentation, decantation and filtration. Sometimes it may not be possible to separate components of a mixture by winnowing and hand picking. For example, there may be lighter impurities like dust or soil particles in rice or pulses. How are such impurities separated from rice or pulses before cooking? Usually in the house before cooking, mama is washing rice and pulses. Why? Because the particles of soil and dust are still remaining in that. So to remove, mama is using this method I will tell you now. Rice or pulses are usually washed before cooking. When you add water to this, the impurities like dust particles get separated. These impurities go into water. Now what will sink to the bottom of the vessel? Rice or dust? Why? Have you seen that the vessel is tilted to pour out the dirty water? Very common when your mama, she is washing rice before cooking. All the impurities will float on the water top and the rice will be at the bottom. When the heavier components in a mixture settles after water is added to it, the process is called sedimentation. Same way what I told you, Mama, when she is washing rice before cooking. So after pouring water, all the dust particle is floating on water and the rice is settling down. This process is called sedimentation. Then the water along the dust is removed. The process is called decantation. After settling, when once rice is settled at the bottom, Mama is tilting the vessel and removing all the water which is having dust particles, husk or impurities. This process is called decantation. Let us find a few other mixture that can be separated through sedimentation and decantation. The same principle is used for separating mixture of two liquids that do not mix with each other. For example, oil and water from their mixture can be separated by this process. You know, last lesson we saw oil and water never mixes. To separate water from oil from water, we are using this method. If a mixture of such liquid is allowed to stand for some time, they form two separate layers. The components that forms the top layer can then be separated by decantation. If you just mix water and oil and let the particular mixture rest for 5 or 7 minutes, you will find a thin layer of oil on the top. This we can remove by the method of decantation. When there are the mixture of two liquids, at that time we use this method. Let us again consider a mixture of solid and liquid. After preparing tea, what do you do to remove the tea leaves? Usually we use strainer to remove tea leaves. Try decantation. It helps a little, but do you still get a few leaves in your tea? This is a second example where in two components, one is solid and one is liquid. To remove that, can we use this decantation method? Just try it. After preparing tea, without using strainer, just pour your tea in a cup. It will do, but with that some some tea leaves also will go in your tea. So to remove this tea leaves from tea, we are using strainer, and at that time decantation method is not correct. Now pour the tea through a strainer. Did all the leaves remain in a strainer? This process is called filtration. Once we will prepare tea and we are pouring that tea in a cup, at that time when we are using strainer, all the tea, the liquid form, it will be in the cup, and the remaining part, the solid part of leaves, it will stand in strainer. So this process is called filtration. And if the from two components, one is solid and one is liquid, at that time we use this method, and that is called filtration. Let us now consider the example of water that we use. Do all of us at all time get safe water to drink? Sometimes water supplied through taps may be muddy. The water collected from ponds on rivers may also be muddy, especially after rain. Let us see if we can use some method of separation to remove insoluble impurities like soil from water. Generally after rain, children, we see the water is not safe to drink because all the impurities, mud or soil, it is coming. At home, your mama, what she is doing while filling pot, she is using a thin cloth. But it is only for a, if the quantity is less, at that time we can use that. But on a large scale, the filtration, this method cannot be used. So next session we will see how we can remove this mud or soil particles in a big water tanks or any other place. Till then, bye bye. See you.